Julie is you're our first repeat guest on the show. Did you know that?
I'm honored. No, I did not know that. What an honor. Thank you.
Yeah, we just love you so much.
Love you back.
Oh, love fest. Okay, but we're not here to do that though. But for those who might not know you, just briefly introduce yourself, and we'll just kind of dive right into this topic.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, my name is Julie Scott Emmons, and I'm the South Regional Director of Government Affairs for Human Coalition. I am based in North Carolina. Human Coalition is one of the largest pro-life, pro-women organizations in the nation. That's actually based in Dallas, but we operate in multiple states around the nation, working very hard to reach abortion-determined women and bring them into a life-saving system of care. But I am a North Carolina native. Hope I don't ever have to live anywhere else, even though I love all these other places. This is a wonderful state. And it's my privilege to be a part of the pro-life movement. I have a background in education and in government and public service. I'm a wife. I'm a mom. I have a 20-year-old son. And I have a 2-year-old Labradoodle named Gus who's sleeping behind me. And I hope he does not wake up and start barking. But he is a goofy, sweet little dog, and we're blessed to have him.
Appreciate the honesty about Gus, but even if he does bark, we'll be happy to have him. But no, that's great. And we appreciate all the work that you guys are doing. I know that you guys kind of target women more from the internet side if they're searching for abortion options, things like that. And you kind of intercede in that way, which is very unique. It's very much needed because that's where a lot of people run to an abortion clinic, but they also run to the internet. We all run to Google, right? So I think that's that's really, really smart overall. But we want to discuss a couple different things today. Crazy to say that we are 1 year past the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Like, that's crazy. I remember Connor was doing a whole episode on this. Like, we couldn't even do it together because it just broke. And Connor's like, we got to record something.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think it's one of those things that everyone... it was such a historical event that usually when I ask groups of people, do you remember where you were when the Dobbs decision was announced? Most people have a clear memory. Yeah, I was at work. I was at home with my baby. I was on a Zoom prayer call with my coworkers. And, it has been quite a year. And for myself, I was standing in front of the Supreme Court, not when the decision was announced, but when it was heard in December of 2021. And I remember, as we listened to the arguments that were being made, we were listening to the justices' comments, you start thinking, wow, could this happen? You're almost afraid to hope after all these decades. But really from that moment, I felt like something special was going on and that we were about to see this huge shift in the laws in the United States of America. And then the decision came down in June of 22. And so it was my privilege this past Saturday morning on June 24th to be on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, where we had a Celebrate Life rally that was hosted by Students for Life to celebrate the 1 year marker of this 12 months, which has carried its share of victories. It's also carried its share of new challenges for the pro-life movement. But what an opportunity and what a platform from which to talk about not only the dignity of every single human being, born and unborn, but also our precious moms and the kind of support that they need.
Yeah. Connor, were you going to say something?
No, you're good.
Okay. Sorry, you came to the mic and I was like, he's going for it. No. Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and go ahead and dive into that a little bit, because you talked about obviously just the sentiment of it that, for pro-lifers, there's just this real joy. We never thought it would happen. And so, but now we're in that practical period. Okay, what does this overturning of Roe v. Wade look like? So can you just talk to us about what the practical implications of this has been? What you've seen happen and unfold in the United States of America over this past year. How many babies have been saved? What's happening in specific states that we should know about? Can you just kind of walk us through that a little bit?
Sure. So it's a mixed bag. There's good news, there's tough news, and then the good news is what we can do moving forward. So the good news first is that it's estimated that over 30,000 little babies have been saved through pro-life laws that have been enacted in the states that have restricted abortion at varying degrees. We see states like Texas, which actually had a heartbeat bill in effect before Dobbs even happened, which has seen abortions virtually stop. Okay. We've seen the doors to abortion clinics close. And we've seen bold pro-life legislators and state legislators all around this nation who have been willing to stand up and not be pro-life in name only, but to be pro-life in practice. And that is something that we recognize and we applaud. It has changed things, particularly for state legislators, even federal elected officials, because it used to be before Dobbs that they would pass pro-life legislation, but we all knew that much of it would end up enjoined, or it might end up in court, or it might end up struck down. Some life-saving laws were enacted before Dobbs, but it was difficult. Now, state legislators actually have it in their very hands to save many thousands of lives with one piece of legislation if they're able to get it enacted into law. And that's more than just making one speech a year or making one vote. And so it's been interesting to see how that's been developed. It's been very inspiring. But, on the flip side, though, it's estimated that around 90%, and this is Planned Parenthood's own numbers, of actual abortions that are taking place in the United States are still legal in 2/3 of this nation. Mm-hmm. So we do have plenty of states that have either banned, they have a heartbeat bill, or they have a 12-week bill like we have here in North Carolina. But there are states such as California, New York, Illinois, Oregon, New England states that have actually spent money, millions and millions of dollars, to draw women to their states to increase their abortion numbers. We've seen states stockpiling the abortion pill. We've seen very proactive and organized opposition. The other side is not going to rest. Their goal is to make abortion accessible anytime up until birth for any reason. And so it's been an opportunity for everyone to kind of reassess and reaffirm our belief in the dignity of every human life. Where Human Coalition is concerned, though, we've been ready for this moment. Still, here's the thing, you guys. We could ban abortion all day, every day. And we hope we do. We hope that it is unthinkable and unnecessary someday. But the reason why women seek abortion, 76% of the clients that we serve say they would prefer to parent if their circumstances were different. And these are women that have sought abortion. They need a place to live. They need childcare. They need educational and job opportunities. They need transportation. They need support from their community in order to be able to parent their child. So those needs are not addressed most of the time by these laws. And so we've got to take things a step further and be there for her. And so we're doing what we've always done, which is be there for her, which is to reach her while she's searching for that abortion online. And that takes place even in states with a ban. She can seek mail order abortion pills if she chooses to do so. And so we reach her at that moment and bring her into a system of care. I think I might have mentioned the last time I was on that, I heard one time that, and I thought this was a really good quote. I think it was Dennis Prager on a podcast said that Planned Parenthood fears nothing more than an informed and resourced pregnant woman.
Mm.
They don't want women to know what's going on in their body, what's going on with their pregnancy, the risk of the abortion procedure or pills. And they don't want women to know the resources that are available to them. And so where our job is to step in and to change that narrative and tell her that she can.
Yeah. No, I think that's really true. And there's something that I want to hit on, because you mentioned the abortion pill. And if you have, a young person, who's desperate, who's looking for a way out, they see these pills and they kind of they might even just see it like it's an Advil, right? Like it's a Tylenol, something that's going to be a quick fix. Can you just kind of on this podcast for a quick second, just kind of, I know we've talked about it before, but just educate us a little bit about what do these pills do and why is it so harmful that they take it in their house? Like, why not? If there's somebody that would be opposed to you opposing abortion pills that are mailed in.
Right. Absolutely. Well, just a quick review. It's not one pill. It's an abortion pill regimen. Okay. So most of us have probably been given a multi-pill regimen of either antibiotics or steroids or something like that. So it's a multi-day process. And the way it works is the first pill blocks the production of progesterone in the body. And progesterone is what supports pregnancy. And slowly over the first day or two, blocking that progesterone takes the life of the child. Then the second set of pills causes contractions and causes the uterus to expel the child from the body. And so it is a process that is not like taking Tylenol. It is painful. It is dangerous for women. It is 4 times more risky than a surgical abortion, particularly when women have not even seen a doctor. If the abortion industry had their way, women would be able to go get this pill without a prescription at CVS. But we have to look back at when this pill was first approved by the FDA until the Biden administration removed regulations on this pill that had been there for years. The FDA actually required and suggested that this pill only be prescribed by a doctor and under a doctor's supervision, that it only be used until 10 weeks of pregnancy, that there be a follow-up visit to make sure that the abortion was complete, all these different things. And then Joe Biden becomes president and his people are in charge. And all of a sudden, we don't need any of this. Same medicine. I mean, and these are the people who say that they are protecting women. Also, just the verification of pregnancy and the stage of pregnancy. Pregnancy resource clinics all over the nation have reported women coming into their clinic confused because they received pills, sometimes from overseas, from online orders, and they don't know what to take when, and they ask for an ultrasound. And then they find that the pregnancy is not even in the uterus. It's in the fallopian tube. It's an ectopic pregnancy. That could be a deadly situation for that woman. And so, or she could be further along than she thinks she is. Anyone in women's health will tell you that we try our best, but there's a lot of people that find out they're pregnant that really don't know how far along they are. And so not even verifying that before taking that pill. So the pill always takes the life of a precious child, but it's also dangerous for women. And it's, it's a situation where she's alone. She's in her home. In many cases, she doesn't have support. And think about this pill in the hands of human traffickers, abusers. Okay? It's all off the record. And, it just is something that is kind of the new frontier in this movement. And so that's a reason why organizations such as Human Coalition are so important, because we have the ability to reach her while she is searching online for that pill, and to reach her with a message of opportunity and hope. And we're here to help you.
Right.
And yeah, this is something that parents need to be aware of. Parents need to be aware that the abortion industry is targeting their young girls online. We're here to help. It's all under the guise of assistance.
Right.
When at the end of the day, abortion never solves anything.
Right. Yeah. No, that was good for you to go through. It's so crazy though, because you mentioned, and I don't want to get us completely off topic, but you did mention, sex traffickers and those
Yeah.
and things of that nature. It's all connected. It's so interesting how these industries all connect themselves, and having the accessibility to a pill like this, potentially harmful for women. But I mean, I can't imagine with these traffickers if it's with children. Like it just blows my mind. It's just so horrible to me. But it's good for us to know about and good for us to be educated on. Because before I really started understanding a ton about abortion, I really did think it was more, and I know that this is still the case, of more of a surgical, process. But with the pills, it wasn't something that I was near as aware of. So it's good that you've brought this to our attention. Um, but I also want to go ahead because we talked about helping the woman, which obviously very important. And Human Coalition is doing this great work. And you have a lot of other nonprofits, mostly religious people and even non-religious people trying to help these women that are in need. But I actually kind of want to try to play devil's advocate a little bit. I want to try to look at some of this legislation from more of a anti pro-life side.
Okay.
So we were kind of talking a little bit about this earlier, where some of this legislation, they kind of read a headline, USA Today, oh, this state put in, an abortion ban at, some odd weeks. Great example for us is North Carolina, right? We're all from North Carolina. You're in Raleigh. And then we're both in Charlotte, Connor and I. And we just passed a 12-week abortion banned bill, right? And that's kind of the very succinct version of that. And so if I were someone that was, very against the pro-life movement, I'd be like, well, they just want the babies to live, but they don't actually want to help. And I'm talking specifically about the legislation itself. It's like it only refers to just saving the baby after, or they'd say fetus, but saving the fetus after 12 weeks. So what would you kind of say to someone who's like, what, these legislators, they don't really care. The ones that pass this bill, they don't really care about life afterwards. Can you just kind of take us through that a little bit of some of the arguments against that?
Sure, I'd be glad to. Well, first of all, Senate Bill 20, the Caring for Women and Families Act, did pass the legislature. It was vetoed by the governor, and then the legislature overrode the veto. So it will become law in different stages, over the next several months. But yes, okay. So first of all, let's talk about the word ban. There's no ban. If you ban something, it's not allowed. You can't do it ever. So abortions are restricted in North Carolina after 12 weeks. They're not banned. They're still allowed for instances of rape, incest, the life of the mother, and fetal anomaly up until 20 weeks, which I find particularly heartbreaking. Okay. So there's no ban. Abortion is still legal. Surgical and chemical abortion is still legal with virtually no restrictions other than the first abortion pill needs to be administered by a doctor in person. And there needs to be an offer of the stage of pregnancy needs to be verified. There are several different restrictions placed around that, but there's no ban. Okay. First of all, but yes, there were restrictions after 12 weeks. It's estimated that will save around 3,000 little lives a year. That's about how many abortions we had in North Carolina per year after 12 weeks. But around 80 to 85% of all abortions in North Carolina will still be legal. So it's really interesting to me how this big, huge fit that was had by the abortion industry when 80 to 85%, and that's a conservative estimate of abortions in this state, are still legal. Okay. But that's the abortion side of things. The other side of things that you're not going to read about in the, I don't know, News and Observer is that $160 million of funding was put in that bill to help women, children, and families. Okay. So right here, I've got the list: 75 million to expand access to childcare, 20 million to pay for maternity and paternity leave for state employees and teachers. The bill increased penalties for assault on pregnant women and even created a new category for domestic violence to protect women even further. The bill did put a ban on late-term abortion, otherwise known as partial birth abortion, where the baby is partially born and then its life is taken by the abortionist. The vast majority of North Carolinians do not agree with partial birth abortion. It does require that a woman be given information about the pill reversal process when she is given the abortion pill. Again, we don't want to inform pregnant women, right? Okay. So it does require her to be given information, and there is a hotline number that she can call for help. Because that pill reversal process doesn't always work, but it works a lot of the time. It needs to be done within 24 hours, maximum 48 after that first pill is taken. It also requires that clinics that do surgical abortions have the same healthcare standards as surgical ambulatory surgical procedures. So most people listening to me probably have had some sort of outpatient surgical procedure. Okay, they're so common. You know, the health systems a lot of times will have a separate building for that, so you don't have to take up space in the real hospital, you know, or whatever. So all this bill requires is that women having surgical abortions have them in a center that reaches the same healthcare standards as any other surgery that would be given to some. Okay. So everybody's talking about that, you know, this is just horrible for women. The world has ended. I'm like, okay, millions of dollars in assistance, protecting pregnant women from assault. I mean, the list goes on and on. There's another thing I didn't mention. A significant amount of funding to increase finish line grants here in North Carolina to help women finish their degrees at our local community colleges and universities. I mean, y'all, the list goes on and on for the way that this bill provides opportunities for women.
Well, I want to just say, and I'm just gonna just kind of put this here for a second, where in this process, Governor Roy Cooper vetoed the bill in May of 2023, May 14th, precisely 3:00 p.m. And just in light of what you said, I'm not going to add any commentary. I'm just going to read it. And he says, this bill, and this is his veto, he says, this bill will create dangerous interference with the doctor-patient relationship, leading to harm for pregnant women and their families. With its medically unnecessary obstacles and restrictions, it will make abortion unavailable to many women, particularly those with lower incomes, those who live in rural areas, and those already have limited access to health care. Therefore, I veto the bill. Just wanted to put it out there and just say, compare what was just said here by Governor Roy Cooper with all the information that you just gave, and ask yourself if the things in this bill are not helping women. That's just for my audience.
And I gave you a short list. Yeah, I mean, I gave you a short list. I mean, there's just so much in there. And I think one important thing to point out is that abortion is not healthcare. The abortion industry likes to call it that. You're keeping women from getting health care. It's not health care to take the life of an innocent, precious child. It's not. Okay. Health care is seeking to save lives. And so what women need are real solutions. They need real resources and real help so that they're empowered to become the moms and the parents that they want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, Connor, I'm kind of curious because we're both females and we're both talking about all this, kind of just what your thoughts are.
You're quiet over there, Connor.
He's always quiet in the beginning, but he always has way more at the end.
Yeah, I mean, initial thoughts for just question of the reversal pill, since you said it has to be taken within the first 24 hours. How could women get a hold of that? And second, how readily available? Like, is that available at pharmaceuticals, or is there just certain hospital? Like where is that kept that they can get access to it within 24 hours?
That's a great question. It is a regimen that has to be prescribed by a doctor. And so there's an abortion pill reversal network of doctors. There is a 1-800 number. I believe it's abortionpillreversal.com. I'll make sure I get that link to you guys, where people can go and they can go online or they can call, and they'll be immediately given expert counsel over the phone and referred to the closest doctor who can provide that regimen. Basically, what it does is it starts replacing that progesterone.
Is that this website right here?
Mm-hmm. Based on what I can see.
Yep. Abortionpillreversal.com. Yep.
And it's really tiny on my screen. But yeah, it basically builds up that progesterone, okay, into megadoses, because the first pill has been blocking the production of it in the body. So it's a battle there to see if you can get it back up before it has been blocked to the point where it takes the life of the child. And like I said, it doesn't always work, but it does work, a good bit of the time, and it's safe. There are children walking around today who have been saved by this pill reversal process. And, I just can't imagine why anyone would have a problem with a woman being informed about her options. It's just information. Why is that scary?
Well, that seems to be a problem in more fields than just women's healthcare today.
True.
The government's been a lot about not keeping people informed. We saw a lot of that during COVID. And we saw it in different ways. In some ways they tried to make the public informed, and then in other ways it did feel like they kind of pushed stuff onto the rug.
Right.
We're definitely seeing it with the schools and the material that has been making it into the schools, whether it's the books or the teachers and what they're bringing out, but they don't want the parents to be informed either. And we had a group of parents that were got labeled as domestic terrorists for protesting at a school board because the school wouldn't let them in and wouldn't let them talk about the type of material they have in. So it seems we've entered an age, which is odd because it is the information age. We've entered the information age, but there is curtains that they do want to keep pulled. And this is an example of one of them.
It most definitely is. And so it's our job, things are online now. People find information online. That's where the pro-life movement needs to be. That's where we are. That's where our opponents are in trying to get messages to women. And they are very, very different messages. One is you find yourself unexpectedly pregnant and you have one solution. And they say it's a solution, but it's not. This will fix it. You can't do this. You cannot have this baby and be successful and have a family and have a career and all of these different things. And we're stepping in and saying, yes, you can. We replace that fear with hope. And conversation by conversation, that's what the entire pregnancy resource movement is attempting to do. And that's what we do all day, every day at Human Coalition.
Yeah, I think, what you were saying about when you guys were both talking about technology, it's so weird. You have the other side that primarily is, they're very, pro-woman, although I would make the argument they're not, but they say that they're pro-woman.
Right.
And, them women being, educated, they have them, in college, so we're from the recent statistics, I think more women are in college now than men, which that's another topic. But when it comes to just being informed on your own body, they don't seem to want that. Like if you were like, say I was someone that if I were like someone who was pro-choice, I'm not, but say that I am, wouldn't pro-choice mean, hey, here's both of your options. If you take the abortion pill and you change your mind, wouldn't I want there to be reversal pills as well? Like that to me would be like a true pro-choice argument, but it's not a pro-choice argument. I think, in my opinion, they are more pro-abortion than pro-choice. That would be the way that I would put it more so.
Absolutely.
That's what's always perplexed me about those who are pro-choice.
It's their choice, the one that they want women to have. No, absolutely. Some people use the term authentic choice, you know, but if she
Authentic
doesn't,
choice, like
yes.
what does that mean? I don't get that.
Some people have started using that term, you know, as far as, you know, if she really did have all of the options in front of her.
Okay. I mean, I could respect that argument more, I suppose, but still.
Right. At the end of the day, she needs resources, support, love, hope, opportunity. If a woman feels like she has to take the life of her own child in order to fully participate in our society, society has failed her.
Mm-hmm.
Something is wrong with our community, with our support structure. If a woman makes this decision out of lack of resources, lack of opportunity, and like I said earlier, 76% of the women we serve say that they would prefer to parent if their circumstances were different.
Yeah.
We've got to start addressing those circumstances, and we are addressing them. You know, it takes long-term commitment. It takes highly trained individuals. We have licensed social workers that work with our moms on all sorts of things. But these are also things that the community can come along. We partner with community resources to help her. That's what Jesus calls us to do, is to love others and love them well.
Yeah.
So the pro-life movement loves them both, mom and baby. And
which is a crucial part there. Because again, you do have the other side, you know, that will make the claim that, you know, they just care about the baby and they don't care about the mom. And we know from organizations like y'all that you guys put quite a bit of effort into the mother. We did get to visit one of your guys' facilities here in Charlotte, and they just kind of talked with us about you know, the kind of the program that they take them through, basically like helping them get a job, you know, teaching them to be sustainable. Like that's far better than like any handout that they could get. But of course, you guys give them things as well to help them get started. But I think that's so crucial as well. And so I wish more people did the research to see, you know, what organizations are doing. And the last episode you were on, you gave us this incredible website where you can literally search for pregnancy resource centers near you. And the amount of results that we found, like within like a 5 to 10 mile radius of different cities, was just astounding, like just incredible. Like these resources are right under people's noses. But the media doesn't say too much about that, unfortunately.
That's not what they don't think that's going to sell a newspaper. Or I don't know. Do they sell newspapers anymore?
They do.
So it's not going to get the clicks or the attention. And, you know, it is, I see the pregnancy resource movement loving on women all day, every day. And we know this. But it is heartbreaking to think about how few people do. You know, I recently was talking to a friend who I don't believe is pro-life. I don't think she would label herself that way. But she was telling me about a family member who found themselves unexpectedly pregnant in a state in New England, which is very much a haven for the abortion industry, who actually received love and care and help and compassion and resources from a pregnancy resource center there. And my friend seemed a little surprised by that.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, it just kind of hit me how we need to get this message out more, that help and resources there. And that if someone is judging the pro-life movement just by what makes it into the headlines, of course, they're going to think we're all horrible people. But this is about love. This is about loving mom. This is about loving baby, and providing her with the resources that she needs in order to be able to parent her child. And it's also about lovingly and clearly speaking the truth about the sanctity of human life and the dignity of the preborn child. So one of my favorite things that has happened since the Dobbs decision happened, I guess it was last week or the week before. I don't know if you guys have heard about the North Star letter. I can send you a link, but we have partnered with Live Action and Students for Life and several other pro-life organizations. Our president, Jeff Bradford, signed this letter, which basically creates a new North Star for the pro-life movement. So for years, the pro-life movement was all about one thing: bring down Roe. Okay, so Roe's down. What's next? And so this letter lays out a case for using the 14th Amendment, okay, to codify personhood for unborn children. So the 14th Amendment explicitly states that individuals are worthy of dignity and respect and cannot be discriminated against. And so we believe that should apply to all human beings, born and unborn. And so, and it lists out a number of policy proposals that would come from that. Everything from extending child support to preborn babies, fetal homicide laws, extending that to preborn babies, anything we can do to emphasize the personhood of that child in the womb is something that we need to be talking about and working towards. And so it's encouraging to see that collaboration, and it's going to be encouraging to see where that goes down the road.
Yeah. I don't know about Connor, but I'm actually very interested in that. I am looking forward to seeing how that plays out, and also how that plays out in the media, because I know if you have Live Action, which everyone knows Live Action.
Right.
Everybody.
Right.
Even if you're on the left, you know who they are. Human Coalition, y'all, and then Students for Life, also pretty well known. So I am curious how the media is gonna spin this, what's gonna happen with it, because you're right, like there has to be a new goal. There has to be kind of a new like stepping stone objective. So keep us posted on that.
I will. We actually had a press conference up on Capitol Hill Friday morning. The press did show up, and Chelsea Yeoman represented us, our National Legislative Director for Human Coalition, Lila Rose, Kristen Hawkins, Elvita King. It was a really neat press conference. Oops, there's Gus in the background.
I actually did see him walking around back there. I did see him.
Yeah. And so, it was very positive and loving in tone, but also very clear that we believe that children in the womb must be protected as persons under the law. So we'll see where this goes. And we also call on both state and federal government officials to take action on this issue. Federal's not off the hook. They have a duty. In many cases, I think to begin with, after Dobbs, federal officials were like, well, we're done. We don't have to talk about that anymore. Okay, it's a state issue. No, there need to be minimum restrictions on abortions at the federal level, because those babies in California and New York and Illinois and all these places that likely will not restrict abortion in any way deserve protection just as much as anyone else. Yeah, it's exciting to see what's next. But I'll send you that link so you can read it. I would love to know what y'all think.
Yeah, definitely. I'm interested to see what the three organizations do together.
Yeah, we're excited.
I feel like I could have another question. It'll either have a really short answer or it could be a longer answer. My guess is it's shorter, though. But I'm curious if any of the new bills or trigger laws that came after the end of Roe v. Wade have expanded, or I don't even know if you can say expanded, given any rights to fathers when it comes to the choice of abortion.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, that's about what I expected.
Now, I might have missed one.
I haven't heard of any either. I was curious if you would have.
Not that I know of, but I will say, in this line of work, it's difficult. You see hard things, you hear hard stories. I think one of the most heartbreaking things I've seen recently is a video that Students for Life posted around Father's Day that I believe they had posted it before. And it was a video of sorry about the dog, sorry. It's probably another dog walking down the street. It was a video of a young father in front of an abortion clinic pleading with his girlfriend to not take the life of their child. And he did not win. He had no rights. He was in tears pleading on that sidewalk. And it's heartbreaking. And, so thank you for bringing that up, Connor. And that is something that, I think people don't think of dads, but they should. And they should think of how many dads are walking around with the pain of abortion and in need of the healing and grace and forgiveness that's there for them, as much as moms who have had this procedure. And that is something that I normally say at the beginning of every podcast and speech or interview or whatever, but I'll interject it now. And that is that we know that about 1/4 of the people listening to this have had an abortion or participated in an abortion. But there is no sin that's greater than God's grace. And so run to him. And there are some amazing post-abortive healing Bible studies and healing groups that are out there. SaveOne.org is a wonderful one. And I would encourage you to reach out. And it's never too late to find healing and hope after an abortion.
Yeah.
Thank you, Julie. We appreciate it. And thank you for coming back on and talking with us again on after the anniversary of Roe v. Wade. We will make sure we get all that stuff linked in the description, and everybody can leave comments on YouTube. And where can they find out more about Human Coalition?
You can go to humancoalition.org. And find out more about our organization. We have all sorts of, one of my favorite things on our website is stories of moms with their babies. So you see videos of moms talking about the resource and assistance that we provide. And baby usually makes a little cameo there. And it's pretty neat to watch those. That's what gets us up every day. It's such a privilege to do this, to be there for the moms and the little ones, and to know that at the end of the day, God will give us strength to see this through. He will make all things new one day. And so thank you again for having me. I'm honored.
Thank you for coming on, Julie. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming back with us and hanging out.